Hi there, it's Natasha, and today I have a card for you featuring a stamp set from AliExpress. I am just going to do some emboss resist, so I've got my anti-static powder tool here. This one in particular is from EK Success, and I am just going to use 4 of these whimsical looking flowers and put each one on an acrylic block. I have some embossing ink that I'm going to use to stamp them with, and you can almost make out where I'm stamping them. I could see them quite clearly because my stamps probably weren't cleaned very well from the last time I used them, so I could see where I was stamping. But that doesn't matter because I'm going to use some white embossing powder over top, so that will cover up any colour that was remaining on the stamp set. I'm just doing no pattern in particular. I'm just filling up the space and trying to make sure that 2 of the same flowers aren't next to each other. So just putting it on a scrap piece of paper, and this is the Wow Opaque Bright White fine embossing powder, and do one side and cover the other one, and then while I was doing this I saw a little spot that I thought needed another little stamp, so I just put another wee flower there. And I always pour my embossing powder straight back in because knowing me, I would most definitely tip it over. So I'm just using a dry paintbrush to scrape away any of the little bits that I can see clinging on, or that I have put a wee fingerprint and I've stuck to my fingers. And then getting my heat gun really nice and hot, and you can kind of see from the side here, I hold it up because I heat it from the back, that the paper does warp, but once you heat the front side again, it flattens out pretty well. I had seen a technique similar to this that Jennifer Maguire used, and she did where she sort of faded using the emboss resist, and then she faded from dark at the top to light at the bottom. So that's where I got the inspiration for this card in particular today. Just finishing up, making sure everything is all melted, all the little grains are all melted, and then I am going to get out some Distress ink. This is a mini ink pad and a blending tool, and this colour in particular is Abandoned Coral. It goes on pretty well. I'm using some Bristol Smooth cardstock, so the blending is not too hard to get a really nice blend with it, but I do want it to be quite dark up the top and then fade out nicely. And I was trying to decide if I wanted a little bit more colour down the bottom. And I think I decided I did want a little bit. But okay, so all done, and then this is a really simple card. Today I'm using this stamp set, and I was really contemplating putting the hello, and then I was trying to decide if I had a die that I wanted to use that was similar to that, or because I had originally thought the thank you one. This is where I couldn't make up my mind what I wanted on it. So these are not photopolymer stamps, so that's why I am struggling so much to get them off the sheet. But I do decide on the thank you, and this is where I decide to take a bit of a risk because it doesn't often work out very well. You can see I just opened up my powder tool and I gave it a little tap, and that meant that lots of the powder came out at once, and I brushed it over evenly, and then because I've just put Distress ink on, and Distress ink is really wet, so if I were going to emboss more it would stick to it. So I've put powder on, then I dried it really well with my heat tool, and then I've put another coat of powder on, and I'm going to use my MISTI because embossing over embossing powder yeah, can be tricky. So that was a little test. I poured some powder on and none of it was sticking, so I thought I was good to go. So I did end up using the little thank you sentiment, and I'm going to using some VersaFine black onyx ink and just double stamp it, and then I'm going to use some clear embossing powder to go over this one. And my heat gun was already pretty nice and hot, so it did it pretty fast. And it did the thank you, and it worked pretty well. It actually worked really well. I was happy with how that part came out. This is where I was just deciding that I wanted a little, the piece of cardstock that I started off with was too big anyway for the A2 card that I made. So the card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and so I was trimming this down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then you'll see me try it out and I think, I kind of want a border on it as well. So I cut off 1/8 of an inch off each side because I've already centered my sentiment in the middle, and that's where I think it's pretty good. I am going to put plenty of double-sided adhesive on the back of this because it did warp a little bit with the heat embossing, so I'm just going to take all of that off, and then just to finish off the card I'm going to use some Nuvo Jewel Drops to just add a little bit of something to the card. So I use I think it's bubblegum pink and the white colour as well, just to put a few dots here and there around the place. And I sort of do a swirling motion as I come up, and that seems to make them into really nice round dots. And that's this card for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.